Two disclaimers. One, I'm assuming you have a freshwater tank and some freshwater experience. If you do not have those two things, this video is probably not the best for you. One, it'll be more expensive, and two, it'll be a little more difficult. Disclaimer number two, this is not the best saltwater tank. This is just a tester. This is just a try before you buy science kit to see if you like it before you spend the big bucks. With that being said, let's get started. So now I'm going to show you what you need and why you need it. So the first thing I'm going to assume is that you have a light. Now, I don't expect you to have a light like this. I know it'll be one that's just rated for a freshwater tank. Now, saltwater and freshwater lights are very different because of the spectrum of lighting. Freshwater lights are also not as bright. So most saltwater lights have two or more different types. They have their bright whites and their actinics. Most freshwater lights only have white light. So for example, I'm going to show you, I'm going to turn off the actinics, which are the blue lights, and you can see you have a very different color in the tank. And for corals, you have to have the blue actinic light, but for fish, and since this is just your first tank, you know, just start out simple, just start with some fish. Just your white light is okay. But you will eventually want to upgrade to something that is made for a saltwater tank so you can get that full range of color. And just as an example, I'll turn the blue actinics back on and I'll turn the whites off just so you can see. This blue light is what brings out the color and helps coral grow. Brings out a lot of color in fish and corals. Okay, so let's start to demystify the parts of a saltwater tank. A lot of people see saltwater setups and they think that the people keeping them are basically wizards, but I'm going to show you all the different components and that it's not really that hard. So I'm assuming that you've got a couple of things. I'm assuming you've got a tank, a filter, and a heater. You can use a hang on the back filter, no problem, or a canister filter. Just wash it out real good before you use it with your tank. And this little heater, this is just one I happen to have laying around. It is a glass heater. These are not great. They have a tendency to fail. So you definitely don't want to trust it with a very expensive fish or coral. But if that's what you have and you're just getting started, it is a-okay. This is just temporary. This is not your forever saltwater tank. This is just to try it out. Okay, so let's talk about some of the gear you will need to buy. This is a protein skimmer. And the one that I sent you the link to on Amazon does not look exactly like this, but it's the same basic concept. Basically, what a protein skimmer does is it makes bubbles, and those bubbles pull poop out of the water. It is as simple as that. And they all work in the same basic way. They just have flow and either an air tube to suck in air or an air stone, which I'm assuming you already have, to create the bubbles. And then the bubbles collect up here at the top in this little cup, and you just dump that out every week or so. It's just a really handy piece of equipment that does not work in a freshwater aquarium, but in saltwater it's super handy. Another piece of gear you're going to need is a power head, and power heads come in all shapes and sizes, and all they do is they add flow to the aquarium. Saltwater fish, and especially corals, have a certain need for movement in the water that freshwater fish don't have. So you definitely will need one of these. The flow from your filter or the output of a canister filter is not enough. You've got to get one of these for your tank. They come in all shapes and sizes. Just get one rated for your size of tank. So with saltwater, you have an extra parameter to manage. You have to manage your salinity, so you will need some salt mix of some sort, and this is not the link I sent you to. I live here in China, as you can see the Chinese, so all the brands and stuff I'm using are different from what you can find on Amazon, but when you're just keeping fish, it's basically all the same. Only when you start getting into corals that do you need something that is branded as reef salt, but just as long as you get some kind of saltwater salt mix like I showed you on Amazon, you're a-okay. And then you're going to need a tool to measure the salinity in your water to make sure you have it right. I have a refractometer, but I recommend you start with a hydrometer. just like in the link I showed you on Amazon. And on a side note, these companies are not giving me money. If they want to, I will definitely take it. But this is all just examples. I have not actually used most of that equipment. Like I said, I live here in China, and I don't have access to a lot of it. And these are just examples of what you should get. So do your own research and get the gear that you think is best for you. Okay, and once you get water in it, you need to add 2 more things. You need to add some sand. With a saltwater tank, you cannot use the aquarium gravel from your freshwater tank. That brightly colored gravel, the paint will strip right off of that and poison your water. You really have to start with something natural like sand or crushed coral, and then you're going to want to put in some live rock. And in this tank, I'm not actually using real live rock. I'm using some kind of like fake rock. But for you, I definitely recommend just start with live rock, just because that's the simplest way to go. You can't really use aquarium decorations like you would in a freshwater tank. You can't put in your plastic plants. You can't put in your pirate ship. I see a lot of people, they start off with saltwater, and I look at their tank and it's just full of all this stuff that the salt water is just going to strip of paint, and it's just going to poison their water. With a saltwater tank, you've got to go far more natural than that. You can only put natural things in there, and it also looks better in the long run because your live rock, it'll start to grow different colors of algae, and if you stick with it a long time, it'll grow coralline algae. It'll turn nice and purple. But if you put something in there, you put in your little Atlantis figurine, it'll be nice and white at first, but in the end, it'll just be covered in green algae and it will not look good. All right, and then once you get all that set up, you get your salinity right, then you got to give it time to cycle. They cycle just like a freshwater tank. You got to get your ammonia and your nitrates down to 0 or near 0. And you don't need to put a fish in there to cycle it. A lot of people say you do, but I definitely don't think that's the best way. Just put a piece of shrimp in there or some bottled ammonia to get you started. Usually takes about 4 to 6 weeks, just like with the freshwater tank. And then once it's cycled, you're ready for your first fish. You can start with something simple, just like a damselfish. They're a mean little guy, but they're really easy to take care of and really great for a first fish, just to try things out. A lot of people will call this video oversimplified, and in a lot of ways it is, because I assume you have some experience with freshwater that you can apply when you start saltwater. And really what I wanted to do was just kind of demystify things, and just show the basics and the different components of a saltwater tank. And this tank that I've showed you how to build today, just with the stuff from your freshwater tank, again, I said it at the beginning of the video, but I'll say it now, is not a saltwater tank that you're going to want to have, forever. This is just to try things out. It's a good hospital tank, so you can still keep it after you set it up, but you're eventually going to want to upgrade to something else, upgrade to a bigger tank or a better tank with better gear. But this is just to try it out. Just buy the science kit before you decide if you want to be a nuclear physicist. That's what I always say. Spend a little bit of money to try it out before you drop the big bucks on 180 gallons. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I really hope this was helpful. This video comes with me as a free resource, so you can ask me questions in the comments below, or you can send me a DM on Instagram. I'm pretty easy to get a hold of. So yeah, I look forward to hearing back from you, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.